Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is the 24th of August of the year of 2020. We're almost through another month. Actually, this would be one of those unique months where the last day of the month will actually be another show. So you get one more Stash Report for the month of August, and then I guess we'll be back the next day-ish to do the September compilation. So, hey, busy week for you folks next week. There are a couple of little kit pieces of information. One kit released domestically and a few things from over in Japan. But otherwise, another pretty light show here. The kit sort of information, I can't say teases, because teases implies something new, and this isn't necessarily new. Talking to the proprietor of my local hobby shop, it looks like the I believe it's going to be a 66 Ford F-Series 4x4 from Mobius. So this will be the last of the planned 65, 66 kits. That should be in this week, later this week. So that'll be on next week's show. And then also he's expecting the 70 Camaro with the newly retooled front end with the full front bumper on it, as well as the Grumpy's Toy, I think it was a 74 Vega, right? 72 Vega. Bruce Larson's is a 74. 72 Vega with a new body and all of that, the goodness there. Both of those he expects to get in on the 1st of September. So technically they're late. But so for folks that have been waiting on all of those will be coming out shortly. The hunt shall begin. Also, that leaves Mobius with pretty much one announced kit to release for 2020 yet, and that's that 48-foot flatbed. Seeing things about it possibly October, so we'll see. The 4x4 Ford was also supposed to be coming later this year, and then it showed up out of the blue. It's one of the things about Mobius not having a real schedule to go with. They just release kits when they get them, and it works out well. It's like, surprise, it's a kit. Oh, shit. Go run and grab one. The other couple of things to talk about, there is one kit announcement, and that is the fact that Nunu will be reissuing their Porsche 935 Crummer 3, the original with the same original livery, same original kit of that. So it's the 79 Le Mans winner or Le Mans winner. I know people hate it when I say Le Mans. The 79 Le Mans winner. The only difference with it is going to have a set of Decalcos window masks included. So the kit that they reissued out of the M6 line, which was the Falcon one, that had the Decalcos window mask inside rather than using the decals and stick on the inside of the window. Apparently sold well enough to continue that partnership. I was kind of wondering who was supplying those masks, because Decalcos, of course, does a line of masks for almost all the BMAX and Nunu kits. And looking at the literature, it's like a big picture of just Nunu masks or of Decalcos masks in the box. I'm like, oh, okay, well that answers that question. So good on Decalcos. We can probably make a few extra bucks out of that deal, just selling those masks to Nunu to put into those kits. So that's supposed to come back out in September with those masks. That is pretty much I don't know if it's a larger distribution than just Japan, because it is not something you see sold in Hong Kong, where traditionally Nunu, because they're in Macau, sells their kits first. So, we'll see. The other thing was I keep looking at my notes. The other thing is the folks over at Hobby Search put a bunch of Revell kits. Now, they're the Revell kits we either just recently got or expecting this month, because, well, unless they show up on Monday, they're not going to come out this month. But so they're the 69 Chevelle, which of course came out last month, and then the 78 El Camino, the 62 Impala, and the 71 GTX. Also in that list added, and these have not been confirmed necessarily by any of the Revell USA social media platforms, is a reissue of the 91 Chevy S10. That's an interesting development, because one of the great rumors of Revell from that time period was the fact that either the tooling for the S10 itself, which would be inserts, because remember the GMC Cyclones come out since the mid 1990s, the S10 specific inserts were either accidentally destroyed, not so much like the 34, like where they dropped off forklift, but they were accidentally scrapped, or they were lost in the move from one tooling facility to another when they changed contractors. Clearly, that it may have been lost in like some of the AMT kits we've gotten recently where, hey, it's lost, and all of a sudden it shows up because, oh, we found it in the back of corner of the rack system. But that's supposed to come back out again. There's no, I think it's like after November. It's a weird way that Hobby Search puts out no firm release date, but third quarter, because basically after November is December. And the other thing that was more interesting, why I brought this whole thing up, because the S10s had a lot of value there for a while, and recently they've been selling for not too terribly high money on eBay. There's no confirmation, and nothing about the S10 kit, by the way, that says like 3-in-1, 2-in-1, whatever. Remember that kit actually has like 3 versions baked into it, 4 if you count the 4 if you consider the what was it called, the cam. I think it was a cameo version of that. It was like a sportier version of the S10, which I had a 1990 S10. There's nothing sporty about an S10 unless you got the 4.3 V6 in it. But there was one that they sold that had like a no rib bumper on it. I know it's a real S10 model, and it was in my head, and it's gone because I just function that way when I do these videos sometimes. But that version's in there. There's that Wave Rider version, the original stock version, and then there's a low rider version. So there's no real word on how that's going to be coming out. The other thing was on there is a 1/25th scale 69 Dodge Coronet Super B. Now that's kind of an odd thing because, well, anybody who knows your 69 Dodge Coronet Super Bs knows that's a 1/24 scale monogram kit from the early 1980s. It's one of the great kits that exists out there with the sort of glow metal flake boxing that was done, I think, in '83. And that kit was recently reissued in 2009, so it's not been too terribly long, but it has been 11 years, so it's due for a reissue. The tooling at Revell, when it was owned by Hobbico, it was basically, if it was serviceable and it sold the last time, it was on a reissue cycle of every 7 to 10 years, usually about 9, who was really the sweet spot. The reason why I bring this up, if it not being a misprint, is if you dig deep enough into Hobby Search's archives, they have the 2009, it was 2010 in Japan, but they have the 2009 release of the 69 Dodge Coronet Super B as a 1/24 scale Revell import kit, because it would be at the time. That would be when Hasegawa was importing all of Revell's U.S. stuff, and Revell and Hobbico were importing the Hasegawa stuff, that relationship. And all of the other kits that we mentioned, the Chevelle, El Camino, Impala, GTX, and S10, all have as their photos either the built box art with the box art of the model kit behind it. It's like a promotional thing. Or the S10 just has the built box art model. The 69 Coronet has a real car. Also, when you look at those kits that they all posted in one day, the El Camino is correctly a 1/24 scale kit because that's an old monogram kit. And the S10 is correctly a 1/25 scale kit, which a lot of people think is a 1/24 scale kit because monogram equals 1/24 scale. But that kit came out originally in 1993. So you're past the 59 Cadillacs, the 59 Impalas, the 50 Ford, the 55 Chevy, the 56 Nomad. Monogram at that point has been, producing a Revellogram as well. We had been producing 1/25 scale kits. They sort of went the way of the corporate overlords at that point and started producing 1/25 scale kits. So that's correct. Now, is it more than likely going to be just a reissue of the 1/24 scale monogram kit? Yeah, probably. I mean, probably just a misprint, and there's nothing to think about there. But let's open that dumpster fire of speculation and hop in there. I did see someone post a very cryptic post probably 6-8 months ago, and I didn't mention anything about it because I don't necessarily consider the person to be a very trustworthy source. But they did say that they knew of a tooling that they couldn't talk about because it wasn't officially announced, that was going to plug a gap of something that was missing out of the most people's hobby desires for 50 years. Well, 69 Coronet would be 51 years old at this point. And if you ever go through any of the round 2 videos, the round 2 Facebook posts, just regular forum posts, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, one of the most requested things that round 2 does, which they can't, which frustrates the shroop out of me because I don't understand why people can't understand this. I mean, they could, but it would involve so much work that they're not gonna, is the fact that people want the old MPC 68 and 69 Coronet kits back because they sell for like $400 on eBay because they were made for 1 year. They were annual kits. 68 Coronet was made, 69 Coronet was made, and then the 70 Coronet was made. The 70 Coronet sounds familiar to you because the 70 Coronet still exists. That is the MPC body and interior that was mated to the B-body chassis that AMT Ertl did in the early 1990s to create the current 1970s Super B Coronet that we have, in present form. They would have to go back and retool the whole model to make it a 68 or 69. And it would have to be one or the other. It couldn't be both because while we saw here recently Revell with all of the 2020, 2019 technically, but all the 2020 slide molding technologies and body tooling insert swaps and things like that, they could make a 68 Chevelle turn into a 69 Chevelle by replacing a few inserts and then changing out the side core parts of the body tool. Yeah, that kit wasn't designed like that back in the 1960s, first of all. And second of all, there's no pieces to swap out. So they would have to retool it either to a 68 or a 69. They have to pick one of the 2 years because I'm sure, much like the Chevelles, the interior of the upholstery pattern is different between all 3 years. Actually, I think one of the things about the 70 is the fact that the upholstery pattern is still one of the 60s cars. But all that being said, round 2 bought this tooling from, I want to say Tomica, but that's not the correct. That's not technically Tomy. Bought it from Tomy after Racing Champions sold it to Tomy, and Racing Champions didn't want to be in plastic models anymore, and that's how round 2 ended up leasing the tooling and then buying the tooling and all the rest of that happiness that happened like 12 years ago at this point. But the generalized point of that is that tooling was bought a long time ago. That tooling is as far as there's an argument that exists online that you keep saying that, well, not me personally, but just people keep saying that round 2 paid for that tooling's paid for and they're reissuing kits for free. Well, it was 12 years ago, and if you're buying tooling from a company that doesn't want the tooling, from a company that sold it because they don't want anything to do with the tooling, guess what? You ain't paying full price for that. You are, much like we saw with the recent Atlantis deals where they bought all the old Palmer Pyro and old Lindbergh Legacy tooling. We just want to get rid of it. It's in the warehouse. It's costing money to store that stuff. Get it out of the building. We don't want it anymore. Now, I'm not saying that they got like some sort of Revell deal where they paid $50,000 for all the tooling, but they clearly at this point, almost a decade and a half later, that tooling costs have been paid off. Now there are new tooling costs like the 70 Camaro, like the 60, like the 72 and 74 Vega, like some of the other kits that they've tooled new pieces and parts for. I mean, they are investing money into that old tooling, and they don't just regurgitate every single thing the way it was. I mean, a lot of the improvements to the tooling are just ungating things that have been shut off by little burrs of metal to keep the plastic from flowing into that part of molds, and you're all of a sudden like, look, original pieces are back, yay! That tooling, like I said, it's pay. I think would consider it to be paid for. If you're investing more money into it, that's fine, but the base cost of it at this point, round 2 has reissued enough models that it's paid for. So they're not going to take what is essentially a free model kit where they just pour plastic into the molds and reissue it to you guys. Or remember, there's a Pro Street version of that 70 Coronet at this point as well. So there's 2 kits in that one tool. Both of them, old MPC kits mated to newer AMT Ertl chassis, because obviously the Pro Street didn't exist in 1970 either. More recent development that they put together in the early 90s. They're not going to just be like, nah, screw that. We're not going to do that. Now, the one time they've done that thing was with the large-scale Charger, when they did like that one run of fun, where they ran it off one last time in the sort of Street Freak version before they turned it back into a NASCAR kit tooling. But that NASCAR kit tooling is going to sell more than that Street Machine would, and that just made fiscal sense to do that. Plus, the tooling was sort of halfway between the two, and it really wasn't that big of a deal. So, yeah, I guess the overall general point of that just blathering nonsense was the fact that we are, I think, because I've posted this on forums, and I've got some people on my side of the forums as well being like, it probably is, but I'm very interested to see what that kit really is going to be, because it's probably the 124 scale kit from Monogram, but why does that kit not have a picture? Why is it 125th scale when it's previously been listed in the correct scale in the past? It's not like, oh, those dumb Japanese people, they don't know scales. Everything's 124 scale to them. Well, yeah, everything's 124 scale to them. Why would they mislist a 124 scale as 125th? So I'm very interested to see what that really is going to be, because again, there was that specter out there that there was going to be some kit coming out and it's going to plug a hole from 50 years ago, and that is a hole that is 50 years old. So we shall see, shall we not? We will. That takes us to kit releases this week. Again, there's just a few things, mostly overseas. But we do have one domestic kit release, and it is a big old kit release. I mean, big old kit release. And it is this, the International Payhauler 350 mining truck. So this is a huge model kit when it's built. I want to say that there's been more than 2 releases of this kit. I just feel that there are, but when you search them on eBay, when you search them on ScaleMates, you only get 2 releases. This is originally an Ertl kit prior to AMT being bought by Ertl. This is an Ertl kit from 1974, and then it was released as part of the Construction Series by Racing Champions in 2006. So it has been 14 years since this kit was released. It's 425 piece plus. It is molded in yellow, by the way, in case you're wondering. That does mean you have to paint the roof and a few other things probably to get it to be that white for the cab. But most of this kit is yellow. I mean, you can paint it whatever color you want to, I suppose. You want to make it purple with pink polka dots, your model, you do whatever you want to with it. But yeah, I mean, I've seen some people already complain, it's molded in yellow. Well, the original one was molded in yellow in 1974, so it's a flashback to vintage nostalgia. Y'all forgot. This is the problem with the vintage nostalgia thing, is you guys don't remember these model kits the way they were when you were a kid, because, it's 40 years ago. But there it is. It is licensed by International, so you do get all the International logos, and the Payhauler logos are licensed by Goodyear as well, so the tires still have the Goodyear logos on them. This kit is a lot of pieces and 2 gigantic pieces, right? The bucket, the dump bed is one big piece, and then sort of the frame that the cab and the engine and everything sits on, it looks like a giant piece of toast, if I could be perfectly honest with you, if you're looking at it from the top. That is one great big piece, and then everything builds either underneath of it or on top of it. The door opens on the cab. There's a bunch of things you could take off the actual sort of cab part to reveal the engine. The bucket dumps to 70 degrees, so it's almost straight up and down. I don't know how many times you can do that before you break the plastic mounts for it, but you can pose it, I guess, if you wanted to, in any position, if you wanted to make a diorama out of this, although it's going to be a permanent diorama considering how big this thing is and how big the bulldozer is to have to go with it. I'm sure that that BG, Mr. Brian, if he doesn't already have one of these, probably going to need to go buy one of these for the Universal Construction set, just saying. There's that. And then, like I said, we're going to go hop overseas here. 2 Hasegawa, everything else is Aoshima. The Hasegawa kits are 2 rally kits. One's a reissue with new decals. That would be this. The 93 Portugal Rally Lancia Super Delta. This is the 3rd place finisher. One of the other things we got a little amusing static over a couple weeks ago in the comment section was like, you research these import kits to the point where you know where the cars finish. Yeah, I do, because the literature literally says 3rd place finishing car. It's not that I went and looked anything up on like World Rally records or anything else like that. It just tells me, and I read, and I can read. It's amazing. Anyway, the new decals here, the only thing about this kit that's new. Otherwise, it's the same Lancia Super Delta rally kit that they've done a bunch of times at this point. This kit really has its basis in 1993 when they modified the Delta Integral into the Super Delta. And this is a legitimately new set of decals that's never been in this livery, the toe tip racing livery before. And then the other Hasegawa kit that was reissued is this, and this is a long ago, far away one, and it's the 1991 Ivory Coast or Côte d'Ivoire Rally Mitsubishi Galant VR4. Now this is a significant rally car for Japanese fans of rallying, because this is the first time since the Safari Rallies kits, the Safari Rally entries in the 1970s, that a Japanese driver had won a major World Rallying Championship. Now, they rallied in Asia and stuff like that, but as far as the big rallies that everybody knows, part of the WRC, this was the first time a Japanese driver had won in 20 years at this point. So this kit is also interesting, or significant or whatever you adverb you want or adjective you want to use about this, because A, it's never been reissued. It was done once in 1991. It's never been reissued. It's the only Mitsubishi Galant that Hasegawa has done that's never been reissued. The other Galant VR4 rally cars were done in the early 1990s and reissued back in like 2002 to 2004 for the most part. So they've been back out. But this one never was. So this is legitimately, at this point, 29 years since the last time this kit was reissued. And also, this kit carries a couple of runners of parts for the left-hand drive, or the right-hand drive, rather, configuration that don't exist in the other Galants. So the only way to get cars that have the steering wheel on the wrong side, as it were, is to buy this Ivory Coast Rally, and you could not buy one of these because it was 29 years old, and they send it sell for like $80, $90. I happened to buy one of these in Japan. I got a screamer of a deal on it because the decals were shot. I then went to Museum Collection, and I bought the replacement decals to redo this car, and of course, like 2 months later, they announced this kit. It was one of the last Japanese things I managed to buy off Bai before the Rona imploded the postal system. And yeah, it's very cool in the sense that it won the rally. It's the first time a Japanese driver had won a WRC rally in decades. And it also has, like I said, has parts in it that do not exist in any of the other Galant kits. Decals do exist, I believe, for the 1990 Ivory Coast Rally as well. I have a set. It won that year as well, so you can, I bought another one of these to build the 1990 version. One of those, another fantasy of the kits I'm going to build someday series. And yeah, so that's interesting for the rally fans. Over to Aoshima, so just some restock stuff here and some new stuff as well in the weirdest way. We'll get to it here. So first up on your just straight restock size, you have this Lamborghini Aventador 50th Anniversario kit. We've talked about this when it was reboxed into the Supercar series, as well as when it was reissued the last time. So we're not going to spend an inordinate amount of time. It's back out if you want one. And also, they're reissued the PE set that is designed for the 50th Anniversario specifically. It's not as wildly robust as like a hobby design thing would be, but it covers all of the essential bases where you've got your brakes, you've got your grills, you've got your seatbelt material, you've got your the Lamborghini floor mats, which is a cool thing that hobby design doesn't do, and so on and so forth. So that's there for you folks if you're so interested in it. And then there's a couple sets of wheels here that are just straight reissue wheels. So they are the Focus Racing 14-inch wheels, the 8-spoke 14-inch wheels. These are basically chrome Watanabes. And then a couple of the Kranze wheel sets are back out, the Kranze Borfus, as well as the Kranze LXZ. Now, both those things obviously are 19-inch VIP wheels. You can't tell from the car in the background of the box art, but they're two-piece wheels. So the front lip is a separate piece. That allows you to take that center part and paint it the car color, paint it bronze, copper, gunmetal, or just flat coat it so it sort of looks like a brushed aluminum or forged kind of wheel with still having the chrome outside wheel lip. So a bunch of different options there if you're so inclined to be creative. And then the new stuff, I'm using air quotes here because none of it's really technically new, but new stuff is going to be a couple of the initial D kits, and these are the ones with the figures inside. First up, you have the AE86 Truno with the driver figure. Now, the driver figures in these, I could not get good, clear pictures of, so you're going to use your imaginations here. They're mass market resin pieces, meaning they're, it's a sculpt, I guess. It's not nearly anything as good as like, oh, I got a figure of this of the hero of Initial D in like a 1/8 scale figure or something like that. It's a 1/24 scale figure. It's driving, so it's seated. It's 4 pieces: the torso, the legs, and then each arm is separate, and then the head is separate, and there are decals for the eyes, so you don't have to try to paint the eyes. That's a thing that Hasegawa came up with, and I think everybody seems to be doing it. These are basically being reissued this way because it's the 25th anniversary of Initial D this year. The kit itself is the Project D version, so it does have a few of the upgrade pieces. It's got the racing seat. It's got the open timing cover. It's got the performance cylinder head, the performance exhaust. It does have an engine. So there's that for folks that are interested. And also in that series is the reissue of this, which is Takahashi's FD3S RX7. Base kit of this, the Project D kit, was just done, last fall, where it had all the extra pieces added to turn the FD3S into the Project D version. So the kit itself, not new. Only thing different is the driver figure, which again is a mass market resin sculpt that is 4 pieces: torso, arms, head, decals for the eyes. So there's that if you're interested in them. And then we also got 4 sets of wheels this week that are not new sets of wheels per se. They've existed in the past, but this is the first time that these wheels are being sold separately without the kit. These are all based on the K-Brake VIP Tuner series of kits. And in order to get these wheels in the past, you would have had to buy a $30 Aoshima car. So now you're getting a $7.50 wheel set if you're so inclined in these wheels. So you have there's 2 of the same set of wheels that are in different sizes, which is kind of interesting. You don't really see Aoshima do that, where you're like, hey, we're going to do this wheel set twice. But they are the K-Brake Hybrid 5-Star. Yeah, it's a 5-star. It's a Boston accent wheel. So it's got your 18-inch wheel set there, and then a 20-inch wheel set there. The 18-inch wheel set's designed to go into like 1990s cars, like the Nissan President, things like that. The 20-inch is the more modern Crown Toyotas. And then you have the Hybrid Cross 9, which again is I think it's underneath an Aristo in this picture, in the original kit, which is the Lexus GS 400 here in the United States. And then lastly, the most new version of these K-Brake wheels. This was in a Crown Royal Athlete tuner car that got done like 3 years ago, I think at this point. And as the K-Brake Level over X Delta. So yeah, I mean, it's cool in the sense that they're not new wheels. They didn't go out and like tool something completely, totally, wildly new. But if you wanted a set of those wheels, or if you're have proclivities, for lack of a better term, towards the K-Brake stuff, you had to buy. And so a couple of those model kits are out of production at this point. You had to go buy a model kit, and now you just have to go buy some wheels. So it works out for everybody who are interested in those wheels. Yeah. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys. From the Department of Redundancy. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Again, next week we'll have a couple videos. Should also have a video on the other channel coming out over the weekend. We've gotten several boxes and crates and goodies and whatnot that we need to cover on one of those. Hey, look what I got. You don't have videos. We're going to introduce you guys to if I can find them. Geez, where do they go in this? When the stack of stuff is so deep you can't find what you're looking for. Introduce you to a new company called LB Productions. LB Productions is a new decal manufacturer out of Hong Kong. They've got 4 sets of decals right now. There are these 2 sets of Kentucky Fried Chicken liveried Audi R8s from the Australia GT series. And they also have a couple of M6 decals from the IMSA WeatherTech when the M6 was still the GTLM car before the M8 came out. So it's a couple of real cool 100th anniversary liveries there. There are planned liveries for another 3 AMG GT3s, as well as 2 more Audis that ran in ADAC Masters. These are screen printed, full on commercial grade decals, nothing homemade here, nothing home brew or everything's a big sheet of clear and you got to cut around the decals. These are commercially printed decals done in Hong Kong. And like I said, who doesn't need what effectively is a giant bucket of chicken racing down the racetrack? These are just awesome. We'll cover these, like I said, in depth later on, but this is the 2020 version of the running in the GT Trophy series, which is a like junior racing kind of intro kind of deal. And then this is actually the round 1 winner for the Audi LMS Cup, which is another It supports Australian GT as far as what the race series is, but it is a one-make series. Everybody races R8s, and they race the old R8s because at this point, 2018 to new, the R8s have an Evo package with a different front grille, different body aero as well. That is not what the new kit builds. The new kit builds a 15 to 18 race season, so there's four years of cars there, and I believe these guys were planning to change to an Evo, but they still these two cars are the same car. This is just a new version of it. It's not black anymore. Now it's a bucket of chicken. We don't know how well they were going to do in GT Trophy this year. They didn't podium, but was only managed to get one race of Australian GT, and before the coronavirus killed the world. So they should be going back racing here in a few months. Keep in mind, in Australia right now, it's obviously wintertime, and yeah, so we'll see what their season holds for the rest. But I could not possibly I should say, resort to not having a bucket of chicken race cars. So there actually are two more KFC liveries, one that ran at Bathurst, which is another Australia race, and another one that runs on an AMG Mercedes that is fielded from a team from Malaysia. It actually won a couple races. Trying to get some guys to make those decals so I don't have to do them, because I just don't have time to do that kind of stuff right now. And next Monday, this 31st, we're going to be starting the distance education of our children for at least 4 or 5 weeks. They may start going back to school 2 days a week, but for the first 4 weeks of the school year, I am going to be trying to teach my kids whatever the heck they're going to be learning from the school. But it's going to be a real fun month next month. The videos were a little late this couple weeks because of just trying to prepare for all that, going the trips to schools and online training and all this other stuff. I realize I'm babbling now, but I just feel like sharing. And yeah, so we shall see how well that works. So if the videos next month past like the 31st and the 1st are like a week late or 2 weeks late, or I don't do any next month, just know that I'm not quitting. It's just I have no time. So yeah, there's that to look forward to. I know a bunch of you are in the same boat and could totally sympathize. There's a lot of grandparents on the Zoom calls of the online training, so I'm sure that a bunch of you guys that are retired are suddenly becoming unretired school teachers. Oh, I don't know. Show of hands, who can't wait for this coronavirus year to be over? I mean, I know it's not going to just stop on January 1st. It's also not going to stop the day after Election Day. But yeah, can we please have a vaccine? Can we please go back to having something that just resembles not having to educate my children at home? This is not what I signed up for. Oh well. Hope you guys had a great weekend. See you guys on the other side.